So my name is Brian Johnson. Didn't get to have an intro on me because Sarah was going to be there originally, but I actually head up recruiting for Epri, go by Epri. Been with the company for 13 years. I've been recruiting for 30. So, gotcha. I've been recruiting for 30. So I've been doing this for a long time in a lot of different industries. We're a not-for-profit R&D company, and I'll talk about how a little bit more. But I've worked in banking, ran the executive search team at Bank of America for many years. I've worked in manufacturing. I worked in different industries supporting manufacturing, IT, service companies. So I've really seen the spectrum in my career. Academically, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a scientist. I actually have a master's degree in federal tax theory, which is the most boring major you can have on campus. I'm the accountant other accountants actually make fun of. So I am not technical, but I've worked with this company for 13 years, and I work with the leading subject matter experts in the world on these various topics. They can make anybody understand nuclear fuel storage and neutron absorption rates. I understand why a gas turbine, does some of the things it does. Why do we heat natural gas up to 195 degrees before we put it into a turbine? I get all this stuff. It's a fun place to work because I can learn constantly, and I got the best teachers in the world around me. So, I have a very different background. I've seen a lot of different industries. I've seen a lot of changes in how we recruit, how we acquire talent. I'll probably see a few more before I decide it's time to go fishing for them. Epri. What a really interesting company. No one is going to lay of the land before I start following, but I'll kind of focus the conversation. Who here is in a major that's truly an IT discipline? I think it may be the ball around. Raise your hand. Everybody. Everybody. So no like mechanical, electrical engineers. Good, they're born themselves. They're in the room, I start falling. We're talking about effort. But IT comes into just about everything. So we are a collaborative. So we are funded by over 250 utilities all over the world. There was some bad data up on your slide. I think it floats around out there on the net. So we have offices in Palo Alto, California, Knoxville, Tennessee, Charlotte, North Carolina, where I'm based. Here's our largest office. Also, Dublin, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Tokyo, and Seoul. Most of our staff is U.S.-based. But we are growing internationally. We have staff in 18 or maybe now 19 countries. We're going to see some additional countries added over the next few years. I suspect India. I suspect we may get a physical office in Spain because we have a lot of people there. Mexico. We could probably see somewhere else in Southeast Asia. So we're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to grow, particularly globally. The research we do is in several different areas. Nuclear power, fossil power, so coal, natural gas, right now. Renewable energy, wind, solar, and hydropower. Power grid, which is focusing on top of the part. Transmission, that's the big stuff. That's the power plant of the substation. Big field surrounded by a fence with transformers and all kinds of different equipment in there. Once it leaves there, it's on the distribution side. That's what brings electricity to your house. But we also do work in end users. When I say end users, I'm talking about, more like the 7th generation of people. How are they doing? Are they more efficient? How are they working? How do we talk to them and manage that very evolved asset? EV. You park your Tesla in the driveway and say, I don't need it till tomorrow. That's easy. Your utility's got that. Now, utility gets a phone call from a large school district. And they say, next year, we want to convert all of our diesel buses, 220 of them, to EVs. Now that's a different technical challenge for the utility. So instead of nuke energy, that's the easy. It's still, instead of that one utility saying, we gotta figure out how to do this. How are we gonna figure out the power density to get all these buses charged in one location? By the way, in the middle of the day, I have 3 hours to charge. These are big damn batteries. How am I gonna do this? Well, one utility can figure it out, or they can join Epri and along with 10, 20, 30, 70 other utilities, fund our research. We're gonna figure it out, and we're gonna share the results. So one, it saves everybody money. I'm sharing the cost of getting the knowledge we all have. Two, Epri can now do the research better, because this model isn't just send us a check and we'll send you the research. We do want the check, but you gotta be willing to do more than that. You've gotta be willing to share your data. By the way, it gets into one of our big IT. You know, you send out your data, we're now getting data from 30 different utilities. You have more data, you're gonna do better research. It's a bigger lab. But then, when we sit down a couple of times a year to review our research, these utilities are sending their subject matter experts, people that are actually making it happen out in the field. Who like, well, we're gonna talk to them, and they're gonna ask questions about the research we're doing, and more importantly, they're gonna guide us to what's next. What are you not figuring out? What are the new challenges? Anybody ever hear of an engineering concept called the feedback system? Really interesting thought, written by Eli Goldsmith. He was an Israeli physicist, but he realized that there's certain principles of mechanical engineering that we're applying to business. And found a way to solve problems, but the problem is problems move. I fix something here, now I got a problem over there. Very interesting process of how you drive the problem. Really interesting read. I will tell you, it is written as a novel about an accountant. Once again, is there anything more boring than that? I was thinking I had a reading part of a program, a master's program. And my professor, the really brilliant guy, was talking about the final. He said, by the way, I have a quick question in that book. And we're all like, what book? Because the one none of you read, because they're all still at the bookstore. So we all ran out and bought the book. The next day, I go into the lounge where the grad students would hang out. I saw a bunch of my classmates there and I walked up. I said, you guys didn't think I'm nuts. And they're like, you put it down. We all went and bought the book. And we all sat up all night. It was amazing. But I'll also give you a reading presentation. But then the other thing Epri does is we then train, so things like LMS systems. We've got to have a team. And yeah, we've got the learning designers, the people that are actually turning research papers into coursework. But then we have to be able to build all the technology around delivering that. Sometimes it's in class, but sometimes it may be online, maybe synchronous or maybe asynchronous. But behind all of that is learning management, the technology that's managing. So we do all kinds of interesting research. Now, where does IT come from? I got a lot of electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, nuclear engineers. What aren't those people? Not data scientists. They're not IT professionals. they got tons of data trying to figure out how am I going to do it, how am I going to store it, how am I going to access it. Well, we have people that are, that's what they do. They're IT professionals, they're data professionals. We hired somebody, this is a new discipline that I see becoming very interesting and very important. We hired a data ethicist. Just because I have your data doesn't mean I can do it. A lot of issues. So, look, the relationship without the members, if I go, if I'm saying, hey, I got this research and I know it's gonna help your research, but and we'll go ask our members, and 99% of the time they're gonna say, after the well, I'll be out of it. But the time. Okay, that. I will try to only say this word one time, or phrase one time. AI. Because AI is nothing. AI is machine learning. AI is large language model, something I just learned. Small language model. Anyone ever hear that term? I just do. It's natural language processing. Yeah, we call it all AI, but it's really different stuff. And we're touching on it. So the small language model. So we got members that are using Copilot or ChatGPT. They're great too. Well, I'll share a little story that gives me pause and concern about it. But ChatGPT can't see every stuff. It's proprietary, behind a firewall. But that's what our members really want to be able to get to. So we're going to develop our own small language model, smaller data set, using nomenclature that is very specific to our industry, to be able to allow those member companies to come inside the firewall, use the tool, the technology that they're comfortable with, and get to the answer. But we've got to invest in the learning behind these things. Deep sea. We all heard about that. Thought the world was going to change. Yeah, there's some stuff there. But I think they cut some corners. That kind of intuitive learning. Hey, I've learned like 75% of it. I don't know, but I'm going to take a really, really good guess. That's some of what people do. Again, I've got subject matter understand it. If I'm asking you a question about nuclear fuel storage, do you want a good guess or do you want an absolute 100% answer? I don't want the good guess. So we're developing that small language model. So an interesting story that tells you you've got to be disciplined, you've got to be disciplined in how they're developed and how they're used. So I have a person. And he's big into Pokemon. By the way, you can't find him. Like so powerful. But I'm getting back into what I did. That's about farms, well, I got a card in 1997. Steve Young was an artist too. Not very common. I got it great, and it came back. I wanted to know what if this thing works. But this card has never come back. I looked at it. So I got no market data. Yeah, I can go look at some other years, similar players, and try to get to a conclusion, but it's hard. So my wife said, I'm going to ask ChatGPT. Its first answer, there is not enough data to make a conclusion. It was the right answer. I've been married to this woman for 33 years. I know she can really badger somebody. She kept asking and asking and asking. And after like 4 iterations of her asking, she came back and said $400. Now I've been there. Okay, I've been in the number, shut up. But she did what she's been doing to me for 33 years of marriage, ChatGPT. That concerns me. Somebody used a term, it was a hallucination. I don't know if anybody ever heard that, but, you know, it kind of seems like it's an intent. They kind of kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed and like, I don't want to talk to you anymore. There's, so, you know, we've got to make sure that there are no hallucinations. That if my wife happens to be asking about nuclear storage, just to say, I don't know. And I'm gonna keep telling you, I don't know. So we're developing that. Actually, when I was looking at the map, the next building over is, and the title of the building is fixed me. Prevented that. We do a lot of work. That's a lot of machine learning. We're developing really big data sets around what causes something to fail. And as we build more technology in our power plants, in our substations, into wind turbines and solar farms, we're getting a lot of information. No, we're getting a lot of data. We've got to be able to build the tools that say, hey, Epri knows when something's going to go sideways. And the data is aggregating to say, it might be time to shut down a piece of equipment and inspect. People can't keep up. Greatest lie of the last 25 years is we have lived in the information. I think we've lived in the data. It's only been recently that we're getting really good at getting information from a lot of data. So, a lot of machine learning. We're a company like any other. We've got an IT department. We've got a CISO. We've got people doing all the stuff to make sure my computer works. Our help desk has some really interesting nicknames for me. I'm not a technology guy, but they always help me out. What's your name? Sean. Sean is one of our leaders. Brilliant guy. He's doing work in gas insulated substation. Well, at the end of this research, he's got 80-page white paper. Got charts, and graphs, and maybe some really cool pictures. Now, I'm a guy working at a utility that's going to go out and work on one of these pieces of equipment. Do I want to go out into the field with his white paper and my CIA-84 calculator? We still use CIA-84 calculator. We sit outside. And figure out what to do. Now, what I want to do is take my iPad. This Andre has developed an application that's taken all of Sean's research. Now it can just go in the field and plug in money. How many hours? What's the temperature? What's the relative humidity? How much voltage? How much amperage is going through this piece of equipment? It's going to tell me. It'll take a couple more minutes. I put that data in, and it's going to say, hey, here's what you need to do. And by the way, safety concerns, big part of our research, you can't work on this piece of equipment with anything like that. You have to talk about that. What do you like? There's probably a few other applications I haven't even learned about. You know, we're going to need more and more of that. So, any questions about the organization, what we do, how we do it? Who are our clients? I remember I talked earlier about 250 utilities all over. Duke Energy, it's SCE&G, it's Con Ed, it's Pacific Gas and Electric, LA, but it's also Iberdrola in Spain, Pepco in Japan, Pepco in Korea, Eskom in South Africa. All these utilities all over the world. I don't care whether I'm in Johannesburg, Paris, or Columbia, South Carolina. If I'm dealing with a substation problem, it's all the same. It's the same equipment. It's the same engineering, the physics are all the same. So instead of everybody trying to figure it out on their own, they come together. So that's where we get our money. By the way, numbers, about $500 million a year in funding that comes from. And about 1,400.
And just as an FYI, Dr. Pacino works with Epri and National Lab and Idaho National Lab. And they're working on this same thing, how to secure the. So, it's a direct correlation with what he's learning. Dr. Pacino is trying to help secure that, so people can.
And they need a pipeline. We have research programs in cybersecurity. Anybody ever here seen a wind turbine farm? What's going on? Where are they? Generally? In the middle of nowhere. And these are rural locations. And by the way, wind turbine, not cheap accent. Cost many millions of dollars to build these things. And I'm, collecting the power in the middle of a cornfield in Iowa, and I'm shipping it to Chicago. What I don't have is a big staff out there in the middle of the night. So I'm monitoring all that. Now I'm controlling all of it from 300 miles away. Data getting accurate. By the way, if the wind's blowing more than 20 miles an hour, I shut a wind turbine down. It will destroy. So I'm gotta make sure it's all the data. It's accurate. If somebody's speaking. And can I shut down that wind turbine from 300 miles away and make sure somebody else isn't turning it back on? You don't want to see that an interesting video. And the number one reason the wind turbine fails is the transmission. Actually, turning the blades of the turbine through the hull, turning the shaft. There's a transmission in there that turns that power to a generator. That is the one that needs to fail. If moving too fast, that transmission will fail. When these things fail, it is spectacular. There is stuff flying for miles. Another reason you put them in a high location. So cybersecurity is another application we have. That more than see that. Very maybe you guys think that in courses we talk about skating. Any other questions on the company?
I assume that you're also using your AI model that you're developing to help monitor turbines themselves, and that's something you have to down there.
Different application. When I talk about the large language model, that's something different. But when I talk about machine learning, yeah, within machine learning there.
So when I read something like research and that's specifically with that.
It is. Now, we don't develop equipment. We don't invent stuff. We do sometimes, but it's sometimes just by mistake. But let's just say, what you mean? Is it? Well, he's got a company that's just, this brand new, really high up. He's telling the industry, look, this thing is good money, you can have less maintenance, and all that longer. Nobody believes you. But what they do is they come to Epri and say, you look at it, Epri, you're independent, you put it in the lab, you test it, we'll buy some of it, put it out in the field, and we'll come back and say, here's the data. It works. This is really pretty good. Then the industry is going to come to us and say, okay, great, look, how do we integrate it into what we already have? And how are we going to maintain it for the next 30 years, 40 years? I went to AT&T and asked them what is on their network that is 40 years old. They're going to show you a telephone pole. You go to your utility and say, what's 40 years old? They're gonna say, what is it? A transformer, design life expectancy of 50 years. A turbine inside a hydro fan, 40, maybe 50 years. A nuclear plant, we could last 90 years. Naturally. So, it's, it's an industry that has very different plans. I want to start building a new transmission line. We need to decide today, we're gonna build this thing. By the time I get through permitting and acquire the land and deal with all the regulations, I'm not gonna be building. it. And after I build it, I'm gonna be for 50. So unless somebody figures out what Tesla is doing and can we actually transmit electricity through the air, we're gonna need those. So we can also part of our research to look at the very long. Yeah. Okay. So I saw only a few hands go up on it. So we do hire during the summer, typically around somewhere between 50 and 70 years. Some of those will be inside the security building with our IT team. Some of our internships are longer term. I'll give you an example. Our help desk. I think the last 3 people have been interns to be hired into our help desk. But they went to a school close to one of our campuses and they actually work during the summer. During the year, they work 10 or 15 hours. That group tends to hire more long term. Same with some of our software development. We tend to hire somebody to come in for the summer. Hey, you're doing a great job. Why don't you hang around during the school year and earn some money and work 10 or 15 hours with your schedule out. But we did have last year about 70 just there. Most were in Charlotte. That is our largest campus. That's where we have most of our income. It is possible, depending on the role, to be remote. But I will tell you, remote's great. And it's not. Come in the office, get the message, see what's going on, get a better feel for the organization, get to know what you really like to work there, you're gonna get more out of it. I've been working in an office 30 years. I don't want to work from home. I know what the hell goes on in an office. I've been there. I'm not getting a whole lot of benefit out of it. But I need to do it long enough to do that. So it's a balancing act. People want to be remote, do I have to come in the office every day? Absolutely not. My son has hockey on Mondays and Wednesdays. I tend not to go in the office those days so I can see it. By way of hockey, I think like every other sport. It's year round. I mean, look at hockey games we go on. This is not. But I'd rather be at the hockey rink when it's 85, 90, 100 degrees out than at the top. So we do hire. It is getting late. I would say the lion's share has probably already been identified. But I will tell you, our CEO is pushing for us to bring in several more people this summer to work on some of these AI projects. It's staying in. The small one, the small project in particular. We're working with him to come up with the money. We'll find it, we always got. But we've probably got a number of internships that we're still gonna have. I'll give you a piece of a card that's got some QR codes to take into some interesting. That'll tell you more about our company, more about our research, and where to go for these internships. By the way, with academic, where's the win? Are we juniors? Seniors? Juniors. Okay. That's it. Some seniors. If you're a senior, not having when you're not coming back in the fall, you're done. We're not going to consider you for an intern. You can consider full-time opportunities, but you have to still be somewhere within your academic progression. You have to be another semester of classes ahead of you. fine, you're junior, you're all good. So I'll take you there. Advice. I know part of this is like resumes and cover letters. Resume, one page. No more. I heard talking about JCOB and stuff like that, that's good. You know, have that link so I can go and see your work product, my hiring managers can see that stuff. You know, my few exceptions are PhDs can have a second page, but that really should be more of an addendum that shows their publications, their presentations, and conferences they've spoken at. That's my exception, and early careers. By the way, my total rule, one page per decade, but never have a resume more than complete. IT resumes can get very long because people like to live down all of the time. Too easy to handle. Focus on, you know, your experience, your accomplishments. You know, one page for now, 2 pages later on in your career, but never go first. Look at my rule, 1 page per decade. If I'm really telling the story about what I did 30 years ago, I have done something wrong. Nobody that would hire Brian Johnson really cares about what I did 30 years ago. They pretty much only care about the last 5 years. So that's what I thought. My resume would be a page to talk about 5 years. The second page would be just kind of accounting for all these, you know, the years between me graduating from college and today. By the way, my education is at the very bottom of my resume. No one cares. They don't care what my degree was in, what my grade point average was. I'm 30 years into a career. You guys, why am I going to consider hiring? It's because of your education. You other people talk about, but that should be very top of it. I'm not a big fan of objectives. Now the objective on the resume, I take it off. Wow. 30 years of recruiting. I've never had a man read a resume and say, wow, she's not qualified. Like, I gotta meet her because look at that objective. No. But I have had people read resumes and your objective is to identify a position as a software developer. Kind of harmless. Sounds like a big broad objective. You know, we're really doing more software engineering. And I get it, there's a difference. When people focusing on a word, they got 15 resumes in front of them. An objective tends to be a reason where somebody isn't even know by. It's never a reason about it. Don't give yourself that yes column and no column. And I've seen them develop on desks in front of me. So I take objectives off. I'm not hiring somebody out of college who should bring all these skills. You don't have them. That's the whole point. You'll get an internship. Start developing them. What are you bringing? What am I looking for? Well-written resume because it speaks to your communication. Number one reason I hire somebody is they're smart. You're smart, I can teach you. So it's awesome. Come on in.
What's the next class?
The next, am I going over?
You got about 5 minutes.
Okay, I got about 5 minutes. Now, I want to hire smart. I can teach somebody who's smart anything. I'm a lost cause. I'm just not that smart. Number 2 thing is communication. You can be the smartest person in the room, but if you can't communicate effectively, you might as well be the village idiot. It's about smart and it's about communication. That's what I want. That's what I want. Fill up the empty vessel. Cover letters, not bad. I saw you guys are going to talk about cover letters. Number one thing I look for, I'll be quickly frank. Most recruiters, if they'll be honest with you,
probably never read them. Right? You know, you don't. But why do I read them? Explain something to me. You're in Columbia, South Carolina, you're applying for a job in Boston, Mass. Why? Tell me. My goal is, you know, I'm a huge Red Sox and Brewers fan. I have to be in Boston, otherwise I'm never gonna get out. Fine. If I'm talking to somebody in Boston, you say you're a Red Sox fan, you're halfway higher. But explain things that don't really fit into a resume. Why am I looking at this job? What is interesting about this company, this industry, this location? That's probably the number one reason. I'm reading a resume of somebody from Sioux City, Iowa. Why are they applying for a job in Charlotte, North Carolina? Oh, their spouse just relocated. That makes sense. That answers a major question I'm always gonna have around location. That's where I go to cover letter. I start with the letter. The cover letter is where I go to kind of answer the questions that may be. So they are valuable, but I stress, explain things to me. That you can just anticipate. Everyone's gonna wonder, why am I applying to a job here? Explain. The difference between picking up the phone and me not. Okay, questions about the other stuff that I follow? Got a guy in front of me who's read resumes for 30 years.
So, I understand what about resumes, but I kind of want to talk about the internship portion.
Sure.
So you guys hire specifically for summer and then semester, or is it for the semester as well?
It depends on the need. So we do both. Last year, we probably had a total of 110 interns at Epri during the year. 70 of them were just there for the summer. The other 40, 45 or so were there for the summer and academic, during the academic year. It tends to work better when you work for us. Charlotte, we're 2 miles from the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. In Palo Alto, we're, literally, we are on Stanford's campus. So those students can walk, become and, do their internship work during the school year.
Do you have a partnership with UNCC for lodging?
We don't, but what I will say, this isn't the crowd I run with, guys. Because UNC Charlotte is there, there's a lot of student housing that become open and you can sublet during the summer. Nobody has ever come to me and say, hey, I just can't find a place to live. 2021, during the height of COVID, I had full-time people that were saying, I can't find a house. I can't move to Charlotte. No, I did. I had somebody we wanted to hire, we had hired. Moving from Atlanta to Charlotte, and that individual, her job was to run one of our labs. You kind of had to be in Charlotte to do that. 2 weeks later, she called us up and said, my family can't find a house. There was nothing on the market. I've never had a student have that. Even in Knoxville, Tennessee, or the University of Tennessee, right now. Usually housing is not an issue. I think we pay the competitive. Don't ask me because I don't know what to say. Sarah would know, and other people on my team would know, but we do pay for it fairly competitively as one test. Answer your question, yes. Other question?
Final question? Wrapping it up? Anything else on the PowerPoint that we need?
I hate PowerPoint, by the way. I never do much. Mission generated, talked about all that. That's been updated a little bit. Kind of talked about that. I will say this big one thing. By the way, if anyone here needs sponsorship, usually not a problem for us. H-1Bs, OPTs, J-1s. Now, I will make a caveat on this. Historically, that has been a problem. we got some different people in Washington today. This could change. The only other thing that I would say is, in the nuclear space, one place I have restrictions. We're talking about, there are a few other small topics. But in nuclear, this is what is being called export control material. If you are not a US citizen or green card holder, it is a very convoluted process, and there are only 22 countries that I can hire somebody. So if you're a citizen of Brazil, you're fine. If you're a citizen of, who's the one that's burning? Can't remember what country it was, but there's one that, like, the US has really, really great relationships with. Honduras, no. They are, you couldn't come to work for us in our youth group, any other group. But, you know, for that particular country, they are not on what is called the section 810. Part 810, Part 810 is a list of countries, there's 22 of them, I think at last count, that have the agreement with the US government to be able to access nuclear technology. But that is roughly a third of our research portfolio, probably a smaller percentage of our internships. Our nuclear group, I wish we could hire more interns, but we don't. I think that was my last question. So guys, thank you for coming. I will put some information out here that we are little cards that I two authors that I think you have more information. Oh, and some laser pointers in case anybody doesn't have. Okay? Come on, guys.
Thank you.